Hello and welcome to Talking Tolkien. Today we're going to look at something a bit special that's just been released, and this is J.R.R. Tolkien, The Fall of Gondolin. So this book, it's just been released, and it completes finally the great tales of Tolkien. So we've got this, which goes alongside last year's Beren and Luthien, which again goes alongside Children of Hurin. It's been illustrated by Alan Lee. We'll have a look in a minute at some of the plates that are in there, but yeah, the illustrations are really good. So where does this fit in, and what is it, and more importantly, what is it not? So we had Children of Hurin, released 2007. That was a much more full narrative. It went through the whole history of Hurin, and it was a self-contained story really, which didn't need a lot of knowledge of the whole First Age and the whole mythology. Then last year we had Beren and Luthien, which was composed more of fragments, so there was never a full continuous narrative written. There was a bit going right back to the Book of Lost Tales that Tolkien came back to later, so it wasn't quite as full a narrative as we got with Children of Hurin. And so of the two, The Fall of Gondolin is a lot closer to Beren and Luthien by the way it's written, basically because Tolkien never wrote a full continuous narrative. There's one that he wrote back in 1915-16, which appeared in the Book of Lost Tales. And he then returned to it in what I believe was 1951, when he started to write a full narrative, as a much more experienced writer after completing The Lord of the Rings. And some of that is in here, but we'll look at that in a moment. So here's the book itself. Some really nice artwork by Alan Lee. I actually think this is some of the best artwork he's done in this book. There we are. Fantastic painting there. For people who care about book things, it's printed in the UK. I've had a bit of a history of printing some in China, so it's kind of nice to know this one's printed in the UK. We get the standard preface from Christopher Tolkien. Something notably here, when he wrote Beren and Luthien last year, he said that would be presumptively the last book in the long series of editions of my father's writings, whereas he says here that now, in my 94th year, The Fall of Gondolin is indubitably the last. So this will be the final story, which makes sense with the three great tales. I would never say never. I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years we get like a edition of, say, the Book of Lost Tales as a standalone book, but we'll see about that. So if we go to the title page here, we can see we've got the original tale, page 37, that appeared in the Book of Lost Tales. There's a lot of nice little sketches as well by Alan Lee throughout. Then we've got things like the story which is told in the sketch of the mythology that he wrote slightly later, the story told in the Quenta Noldorinwa, which again was slightly later, and then that goes all the way up to the last version that he wrote in 1951. The tragedy of the last version, page 145, is that Tolkien ended it basically as Tuor arrived in Gondolin. So it didn't actually cover the fall of Gondolin, which is Tolkien, as Christopher Tolkien himself remarked, it was one of the great tragedies that his father never completed the work. And there is a bit of an additional part in here saying about why Tolkien actually abandoned the work, why that didn't work out. So, do we have a quick look at the artwork? Here we are. So here's the first one, Swan Haven. Turgon strengthens the watch. The King's Tower falls. Glorfindel and the Balrog. Yes, Balrogs appear in this story. The Rainbow Cleft. Mount Taras. Great piece of artwork, this. Ulmo appears before Tuor. And finally, there we see that one. So there we have it. That's a quick look at J.R.R. Tolkien's The Fall of Gondolin, which was released today, 30th of August. A couple of other bits just to mention before I conclude. You can also get a really gnarly Tolkien calendar with the illustrations by Alan Lee. Okay, so that's out if you want to look at it every day of the year. And there's also a deluxe edition similar to the other deluxe editions they've released. I did order that, but it's not arrived today. I don't know why. When it does arrive, I'll maybe do a short video on that. But I definitely recommend this for if you've only read, say, Silmarillion. If you've only read The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, then this is definitely a good story to get into. Similarly, if you've read Beren and Luthien, it's a very similar kind of story to that, but the epic scale of it is absolutely brilliant. And it's, despite the fragmentary nature of it, it's definitely a good story to get into. And if you're a fan anyway, then I'm sure you'll already have this on the way. So that's it. Thanks very much for watching the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.